Now, Sally.
Good morning, good evening, and welcome to Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters Club. I am Sally Reyes, your acting Sergeant at Arms, a member of that committee. Please take out your phones and set them to silence. I would like you to help me take out your phone, set them to silence, and help me welcome the president and co-sponsor of this Toastmasters Club. She is also an assistant Division D director, distinguished Toastmaster, general intuitive, and guardian angel. Take it away, Cynthia Stott.
Thank you, Sally, for that great introduction. I'm so happy to be here. I'm very excited. We have an exciting meeting today. We have Kimmy Avery as our guest keynote speaker. Well, she's a member, and she's going to be our keynote speaker today. And we have quite a few guests. First, I'd like to welcome Roger Swenson. Roger, would you like to unmute and say who you are? You're a frequent flyer guest.
Yes, my name is Roger Swenson. I've been a Toastmaster member for 42 years. I belong to 6 clubs in the Boston and Cambridge area. I've been an area governor 5 times, a division governor twice. So I've been all around the country since the clubs went virtually. I've been all over the United States and other countries, so I'm pretty familiar with Toastmasters.
Great. Happy to have you here. Welcome.
Okay.
And do we have another guest? Deanna, if you could write your greeting in the chat. And do we have any other guests?
Eileen and Carol.
Thank you, Carol. You're welcome. Go ahead and put it in the chat for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Carol, would you like to introduce yourself and where you're calling in from? Hello, Carol? She can't speak. She's calling in from Sacramento, California. Great, near us in the Bay Area. And who was the last guest that you mentioned, Kimmy?
Eileen.
Eileen, would you like to unmute and say where you're calling in from?
Yes, Prince Albert.
Eileen.
Hello, Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Canada. And
Wow.
I will be off and on, but I'm going to try and catch what I can. Great to see you.
Have you visited us before?
Yes, I have. I've joined you before, yes.
Yeah, I thought so, because my mother-in-law is from Saskatchewan. She's from Regina, Saskatchewan.
Right.
Great. Good. Welcome from Canada.
Thank you.
Great. Is that all our guests?
I believe that is true.
Okay. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, DTM Jay Lichta. Take it away, Jay.
Thank you, Cynthia, for that welcome. And welcome, Leaders Worldwide. It's my pleasure to be your Toastmaster today. First time here at Leaders Worldwide to be your Toastmaster, and my pleasure. We have a great theme for the meeting, gender communications. I would try and explain that to you, but I don't think a lot of you would understand me. So that's supposed to be a joke. Maybe that goes along with the theme of the meeting, gender communications, and we'll have to hear from the experts on that today. Moving right along, I would like to introduce our general evaluator today, who's going to tell you what's going to go on in the evaluation portion of the meeting. Victor, take it away.
Well, I'll probably tell you a little more than that. For instance, the mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment where every member is given the opportunity to develop communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth. The general evaluator is the person that moderates the part of the meeting that see whether that was actually accomplished. In addition to that, the general evaluator evaluates the meeting as a whole. The general evaluator introduces the evaluators before they evaluate the speakers, because all speakers in Toastmasters get an evaluation whether they want to or not. I also moderate the part of the meeting where there are certain reports given at the end of the meeting. There are two players that I have to work with, that I get to work with, the timer and the grammarian. So will the timer briefly tell us what your role is, and we'll take it from there and then give it back to me. Unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Cherry, and today I'm serving as your timer. The timer is something like an assistant production person for a radio show or television show. So because all Toastmasters must be very attuned to the timing as they deliver their message in different environments, I will be proposing a green flag when you reach your minimum time, a yellow flag when you meet your medium time in between, and a red flag when you're at maximum time. You then have 30 seconds to finish up, or you will get the "too bad you didn't make your time" flag. So you should have seen the PowerPoint. Anyway, that is my function, and I will be happy to keep time for table topics, the evaluations, as well as the speakers. So I really have to pay attention, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give Teresa Cherry a great big round of applause for that phenomenal presentation. Next on our agenda, and I do encourage everyone to pay attention to the agenda, because the agenda is part of what makes us accomplish all those things that Toastmasters wants us to accomplish. The next person on the agenda is going to be the grammarian. So will the grammarian take a few moments and tell us your story? Let's get the grammarian for, I believe it is Sally Reyes. Let's give
Yes.
it up for Sally Reyes.
Thank you, and good morning. Our word of the day is very important. It's gender communication. Sending and delivering a message, I guess, takes physical, emotional, and verbal skills, which we can explore today. And also I'll be counting the ifs, ands, buts, and maybe even notice some very interesting, unusual words. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, Sally Reyes. Let's give Sally Reyes a round of applause for that up-to-date report that she gave us on what a grammarian does. Now, next person on the agenda is I get to shut up now. I know that breaks a lot of people's heart, but I do get to shut up now and return control of the meeting to our Toastmaster, none other than Jay Ligda. Let's give it up for Jay.
Thank you, Victor. I also appreciate that distinction between having to work with somebody and getting to work with somebody. Sometimes there's a fine line. I'm happy to say we get to work together today, along with all the other players in this meeting. It's going to make it happen. One of those is going to be our master leader today. Our master leader is Carrie Kelly. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. I've got the quote for you from George Bernard Shaw. The single biggest problem in communication today is that the illusion that it has taken place. Gender communication, right?
Yeah.
So how many times, okay, I'll just tell my story. How many times have I told my husband this, that, or the other thing? And then when it's supposed to be happening, well, what are you talking about? I told you. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. We had this whole conversation about blah, 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 blah. And that's what it sounds like in his ear. And then when he's talking to me about something, it sounds like wah, 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 wah. And then he's like, what happened? What happened? Like, why didn't you? I said, I don't remember you telling me that. Oh, but we talked about it. Gender communication. The thing about this quote is that it's not just gender communication that can be elusive. It can be family members, it can be coworkers, it could be Toastmasters. And the situation is such that we are going to have to find our way through all of that. And I think that we might get some tips on that today. Somebody that's going to help us through managing our gender communication. Thank you. Back to Toastmasters.
Woohoo!
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
See? You see what
That's
I
part
mean?
of that's part of the joke. That's part of the joke. You have to always joke. Okay? So now we get to learn about gender communication with our keynote speaker, Kimmy Avery. Kimmy Avery is the author of the upcoming book, Relationship Navigation. It Takes More Than Love. It has been personally endorsed by Dr. John Gray of the Mars versus Venus series. She helps singles and couples learn how to communicate with their partner in ways that works, heals grief and loss from their past with the symbolic grief ritual. They do this so that they can open up their hearts, receive love in their lives. She holds a master's in counseling psychology, a bachelor's in family studies and human development, and is a certified relationship coach and a PAX, partnership, adoration, and ecstasy programs, PAX programmed licensed practitioner and coach, and NLP, Neuro Linguistics Programming, master practitioner, NLP, and a trainer. Kimmy is an international speaker. She has shared the stage with former presidential candidate Marianne Williamson and Carolyn Miss, as well as worked with multinational corporations such as Shell Oil, Chevron. She is also the president of Heart to Heart Toastmasters in Oakland, California. Please help me welcome Kimmy Avery, the real truth about successful communication between men and women. The real truth about successful communication between men and women, Kimmy Avery.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jay. Men and women are so different that we'd be better off if we actually spoke different languages, because then we wouldn't think we were communicating. We have different ways of looking at the world. Have you ever lost a day, a week, a year, or maybe years of your life due to relationship upsets? I have, and I know many, many people have. And it's just this underlying problem, this underlying challenge, because you don't understand your partner. You don't feel like they understand you, and you're constantly frustrated and upset. Yesterday, I was talking to a young friend of mine. He's 14. His name is Charlie, and he was asking me about relationships. It's actually super cute. And he said, I said, what are your biggest challenges? And he said, well, when I'm supposed to be doing the laundry and the dishes, and I'm doing one of them, like I'm doing dishes, and the laundry's not getting done, so I get yelled at for not doing the laundry. The truth is that men are really single focused. So what I suggested that he say to his mother was, Mom, I'm really good at focusing on one thing. I know I have both to do, and I'm going to do this one first, and then I will do this. The masculine energy is really sequential. It's one thing after the other, after the other. The feminine energy has this diffuse awareness, which means we pour into different directions all the time. My husband looks at my computer and he says, "You've got too many tabs open." If I close my tabs, I won't remember that it needs to get done. Ladies, have you ever had that experience? Guys, have you ever said, "Focus on one thing" to a woman? This happens all the time. My name is Kimmy Avery, and I'm a relationship navigation specialist. And I work with men and women to help them to understand what is going on with their partner. Help them to navigate those experiences so that they can be happier, more connected, and have more love in their lives. Would you like to have more love in your life, in your relationship, in your friendships? Would you like to have a more satisfying experience at work? I know most people would like that. When I was younger, I had gone to girls' boarding school. I went to women's college. I was a super strong, powerful woman, and I didn't need a man. I know many women like that who didn't need a man. And then I went to, well, before that, I had been like somebody who wanted to have a family my entire life. I always wanted children. I wanted to get married. I couldn't seem to make that happen. I went on lots of dates, had lots of boyfriends. In fact, I went to not one, but 2 weddings of men I was deeply in love with, and I watched them marry other women. I was pretty confused, pretty frustrated, and wondering what the hell was wrong with me? Like, why didn't they want me? I was 36 by the time I took a course called Celebrating Men, Satisfying Women. And it literally changed everything for me. All my NLP coaching clients became relationship clients. All my clients were curious about this new wisdom that I'd found. And it was that men and women are so different. We'd be better off if we spoke different languages. And I could see patterns in the relationship experience. I could see what was going on that was chronically upsetting people. They were anxious because they couldn't communicate with their partner. They were frustrated because their partner wouldn't listen to them. And it becomes a rift in relationships. It made it possible for me to meet and marry my husband when I learned that men won't stick around if they're not needed. So instead of some great guy saying to me, "Kimmy, I need you," and I'd say, "You don't need me. Nobody needs anybody." And so they'd walk away and they'd go meet somebody else who wanted to get married, who needed them. Everybody needs a sense of being able to contribute to their partner. It feels uplifting. It feels natural. It feels delicious when you're contributing. It also feels especially delicious when you are received by your partner and they appreciate what you do. And we have different ways of contributing in ways that we don't even realize what our partner's doing and they don't realize what we're doing. So the masculine is this provider, protector, producer mode. Men and women can be in masculine mode. If you're a single mother or you're the CEO of a company as a woman, you might be in masculine mode. The feminine mode is the supporter, adapter, enhancer energy. And this energy helps to make things happen. We kind of do the background stuff. We see you sitting at your desk and we bring you a cup of coffee or a sandwich. And that can be a man or a woman. So it's not gender specific, although there are some patterns that you may really understand in your partner when you see this. But I work with gay couples and straight couples, and the same patterns show up. So typically, women look at men as hairier, misbehaving versions of ourselves. They are either in trouble for not doing what we would want them to do or what we would do, or doing things we would never do. And we're like, what the hell is wrong with you that you would do that? So we assume that men think the same way we do. Men typically are the bigger, stronger of the species, and they typically see women as smaller, emotionally indulgent versions of themselves who can't get to the point to save their lives. Guys, have you ever thought that? Ladies, have you ever thought that about men? Have you ever had that experience where you're just so exasperated and you can't figure out why the person did what they did, why they can't do more than one thing at once, why she does so many things and seems to ignore you as you're trying to tell her something important? Like I said, this is not gender specific. So you may have times in your life when you're in masculine mode. You may have times in your life that you're in feminine mode. And typically men will say, they don't say I'm a supporter, they'll say I provide support. That's a little bit of the masculine, how they provide support. They don't just sit in the wings usually. They like to do that. As I was studying about relationships, I managed to become an NLP master practitioner and trainer. I have a master's in counseling psychology. I've always wanted to understand people. And this new level of understanding really made all the difference for me. I've been married for 11 years. We've been together for 15 now. And I can guarantee I would not be married if I didn't understand this. We just had a kitchen remodel and my husband was the contractor, the person who was in charge of everything. And we literally sat down for months organizing who was in charge of every single little detail. We didn't fight very much. We had a few spats during the time, but my husband and I are capable of fighting over how to move a couch 6 inches. Maybe you've had that experience with a partner or at work. Here's the deal. The masculine and feminine energy communicate really differently. We speak differently. For instance, the feminine tends to use about 25,000 words a day. The masculine tends to use about 500. Or excuse me, 5,000. I don't know how that came out. My father says 500 is better, but 5,000 words a day. So when the feminine is telling you all the details about everything, it's really frustrating to the single focused person. He's listening for, what's the point? What are you telling me? Is that the point? Is that the point? Is that the point? And then what happens is he'll glaze over. And then she's pissed off because you're not listening to her. Focus. Stay with me. Eye contact. Oh my God, I've seen some of my female friends with their children, and they're all boys. Focus. Pay attention. And I think, oh my God, that poor child. So women tend to be able to talk off the cuff. We tend to be able to wing it. You ask what our opinion is, we wing it. We tell you what this thought is and that thought is. When we ask a man what he thinks about something, he's like a deep well. He'll go into the well and he drops the bucket down and he's looking down. He's in the well and he comes up with his opinion or his thought on something. And if he's given time, he'll go down again. And then he'll share that. And he'll go down again and share that if he's given time. But typically what happens, we're waiting for the answer because we can speak it off the cuff and you don't answer right away. So we think, maybe he didn't understand that question. So we rephrase the question, which in essence resets the going in process. So we've rephrased it. He doesn't answer that right away. So then we give him multiple choice. Is it this or this or this? And he's like, it's none of those things. She obviously doesn't understand me. So guess what? I'm going to just walk away. This conversation is pointless. Have you ever experienced that, guys? Can I see a hand or two? Thank you. Yeah. And so the feminine is thinking there's something wrong with this person, or he's holding back information, or he's making something up. The truth is that men are going into themselves to find out what they really think about it. And they want to tell you a genuine answer. But they're not going to answer that question if they're interrupted. Now, you ask a woman how her day was or what she thinks about something, and she can go on and on and on about something. And as I said, he's listening for what's the point? I'm seeing Sheena say no sound. Can you all hear me?
you. We hear you.
Okay,
It
good.
must be Sheena is having a problem.
Okay. So he's listening for what's the point, and she is, think about the hunters and gatherers. The gatherer goes out into the meadow and they're looking for berries or mushrooms or usable things or beautiful things. We're constantly adapting to circumstance. We're constantly looking for these things. And if there are no mushrooms, like I'm an avid chanterelle mushroom gatherer, if there are no chanterelle mushrooms, I'll go out and find something else beautiful. I'll take some pictures. I have the ability to adapt, so I don't get really upset.
I don't know what song this is.
I don't know what that sound was.
Everyone's on mute, Kimmy.
Okay. Yeah, I just heard something. So if I'm going out in the meadow and there's nothing there, I can't find the mushrooms, I could be upset if I was single focused on getting that mushroom. Now, on the other hand, the masculine energy goes out and they're focused on what they're hunting for. They're single focused. And in that process, they're not picking flowers for their partner back home. They're not stopping and smelling the roses. They're not enjoying the beautiful day. They don't meander along. And that person, when they're hearing all the details about the meadow and what happened and what's going on with different friends and what's going on at work and what's going on in here and all these details, it doesn't work for him because his model of the world is that it's really single focused. And that single focused doesn't care if the deer they catch has spots or not. They don't care what kind of animal once they've decided to hunt it and they bring it back to the cave. So the details are not as essential for most men. Now, if you're an engineer, yeah, details can be really important, but it's all in service of that single focused activity. We have ways that we communicate that get in the way. And those problems get us into big trouble. Back to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kimmy. I do believe we have a question and answer session coming up.
Yes.
If you have any questions, Cynthia's going to lead us in the question and answers, correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry
Great.
I didn't mention it ahead of time so people could have been writing their questions down in the chat.
Great job, Kimmy. Awesome.
Thank you.
And did you just put something in the chat?
I did. I've got two gifts. One of them is a symbolic grief ritual that if you've had any challenges in your relationships or your past that are causing you to slowly close your heart off and you can't receive love in your life, or you've lost people to COVID or natural disaster or any kind of thing, The symbolic grief ritual is the first link that's in there. And that's a gift to you. If you want some guidance on how to do that, you can request a session with me. And then there's also my calendar link if you'd like to speak with me about your particular relationship situation.
Great. And we have some comments in the guest registry. One is from our guest, I mean, in the chat. One is from our guest, Deanna, and she said that she was in a communal living situation in 1987, and she had an ex-boyfriend in high school long ago, and he broke up to date another girl. And he did the first date. He kissed her long in the car park. Beautiful. Kathleen Pill says, I so enjoy all the information delivered in a story-like style, valuable insights that we can all recognize once you point it out. LOL. Very different. And then Deborah Weiner says, really helpful information for all, and you can keep them coming. And I recognize, especially as I'm becoming more of a leader, that I'm bringing out my male traits more. I want get to the point, get to the point, get to the point, key point. And I used to meander around the key points, and my yoga masters used to yell at me because it's a key point, Cynthia, key point. And now I really understand what they're talking about, and being short and clear. And I really appreciate. So I think that we need both of these communication styles within us. I think that I feel more intimate when I can share details with someone over like tea or coffee or something. But then when I'm doing work, I want to be specific about getting some stuff done. But I also like to connect over work. I don't like to just talk about work. I really want to build relationships with people that I work with. And I think women are more relationship than men. Relational than women. And if you notice, when men are relational, they tend to not talk much. You know, like my late husband, he would call up his friend. Hi, Bill. Yeah, we're going to meet. Let's go. Click. That's it. Whereas I could talk for hours with my friends. So it's a little different. And even when they're together, very few words are spoken.
Some of the work that I've done in the corporate world, we talk about the relational and the individualist. And it's still the masculine, feminine situation. And both of them are valuable. They are needed in both contexts. If you don't have somebody who can kind of smooth the edges and find out what's important to people and really be a connector, that can really undermine a company or undermine a person's ability to have a relationship. On the other hand, you know, if you're only relational, you might not get anything done.
Need balance.
Yeah. Or you get things done. Like an example that I thought was really great for me was I was fixing up a house to sell in Tucson, and I was literally ping-ponging through the house. I'd be in one room and I'd work in this area, and then I'd go out to get something for that project, and I'd enter another room that had another project going, and I would just stop and start doing that, and back and forth. And then the deadline was coming up, and I hired this guy named Kevin to help me finish it. Boom, 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 boom. Single focus here, 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 here. Done in a week. And I was enjoying my process, but I had a deadline, and I needed that masculine energy to help me get it done.
Great. And we have a couple more comments and questions here. Deborah Weeder says, I feel men are easier to communicate with than women are for me. And that's I think they're clearer communicators. They're more on point. And then Victor Jenkins says, which is the more effective mitigator? That's a question. And then also Cassandra asked, can you discuss matching a person's communication style? So an effective mitigator and a person's communication styles in the couple of minutes we have left.
Yeah, sure. So who's the most effective mitigator? I'm assuming you mean negotiator, somebody who helps to navigate a situation. I think that the feminine energy can help us do that more easily because we have a way of listening to different people's perspectives and navigating that. Now, that doesn't mean men can't do that. And I think it's training that helps us to be able to get there. Now, and I'll sort of weave this into Cassandra's question. So typically men will start with, if you imagine a triangle, they start with the top and that's the point. And they'll start with that and they're bullet pointed. Typically women, I'm trying to do the upside down triangle. So we'll go like that. So we start with all the details and then we get to the point. Now, if I'm communicating with somebody who doesn't seem to have that flexibility, my flexibility to go into a single focus, bullet pointed or way of communicating can be really helpful. For instance, my husband is very masculine in his communication. He can't tolerate any extra fluff. If I don't stay on point with him, I've lost him. So I have to be really targeted in that way. Now, some of my guy friends, they can handle more and they'll give me space to sort of share more details. The same holds true, and that would mean that they're being flexible with me by giving me more space. If I'm talking with a man and I want him to share more details, I imagine a piece of pink duct tape on my mouth and I don't interrupt. It is so critical. You put the you ask a question and you imagine pink duct tape on your mouth and think of the Mona Lisa painting where there's a small smile, gentle, mischievous, loving. I think that's why that painting is so famous. Holding the space for a man to share himself will give him time to go into the well and bring up an answer. And then if you listen more with more duct tape, he can go again. And then you'll hear things like, I've never told anybody that before. Or that's all I have to say about that. And that is so nourishing for us as the listener to really find the essence of what's in there. But we won't get there if we interrupt. So matching communication styles is really essential, knowing the context. I just spent a road trip visiting with girlfriends from across the spectrum of my life, and it was, amazing, long, fluffy conversations that meandered all over the place, and I feel nourished and connected. And sometimes you have to be really single focused. Cynthia, are there more questions?
No, that was the only questions right then. So then maybe a little bit more about if, can you discuss matching a person's communication styles a little bit more, how to balance that in their relationship? And we have about 2 minutes.
Okay, great, thank you.
2 minutes.
Okay. So in neurolinguistic programming, we model the behavior of what people do successfully. And in terms of when you say matching communication styles, we can use specific words that match their communication styles. One of my friends years ago, he was more auditory and I was more visual, or am more visual, kinesthetic. And people typically have a lead system. He had done something that had really upset me. And he was apologizing on the phone. And I kept saying, Robert, I see what you're saying. You're forgiven. And he kept saying, I'm telling you, I'm sorry. This went on for about 10 minutes. And finally I said, Robert, I hear what you're saying. You are forgiven. And he goes, oh, thank you. I'm an NLP master practitioner and trainer. I don't always think of these things, but when we match people's language in a very conscious way, we can make a big difference. So matching our communication style, are you bullet pointed or you need more details? Or matching even somebody's language style, or more visual, more auditory, more kinesthetic. I hope that gives you a little bit more foundation, Cassandra.
Yeah, that's great. Does that answer your question? And that's about all the time we have. We want to thank you
Yep.
so much, Kimmy. This has been great, very interactive, very insightful. I think it will help us improve our communications. So everybody unmute and give her a big round of applause. Woohoo!
Yay! Thank
Yeah.
you.
And back to you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Toastmaster.
Thank you. We break now. 5 minutes. Pause recording. Welcome back, leaders worldwide. We now enter into the prepared speech portion of our meeting, where we have two great speakers. Our first speaker is going to be Janet Lockhart-Jones. Her evaluator, Talib Hamid, is going to let us know what she's working on, which project, timing, etc. Talib, please take it away.
By the way, I will need to share my screen, so hopefully I have share privileges.
Isaac or Linda, can you give her co-host abilities so she can share her screen? Oh, and also Imran's here as a guest. If you could put guest in front of his name, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the Day. Toastmaster Janet Lockhart will be delivering her project, Persuasive Speaking. And the description of the project is that it is actually just give me a second.
It's on the screen.
Yeah. Screen to be, yeah. I was just looking for the pathway in the project. So just give me a second. The description of the project is persuasive speaking. The purpose of this project is for the member to understand the types of persuasive speeches and deliver a persuasive speech at a club meeting. During the completion of this project, the member has spent time learning about persuasive speaking. The member will deliver a well-organized persuasive speech on any topic. The member may choose to appeal to emotions, ethics, or logics in his or her speech. The speech may be humorous, informational, or any style the member chooses. The duration of the project is 5 to 7 minutes, and now I will defer to our Toastmaster of the day to introduce the speaker, speech title, and introduction.
Thank you, Tala, and happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Janet Lockhart-Jones is a leadership and organizational development consultant, technologist, entrepreneur, leadership coach, public speaker, podcaster, and corporate trainer. Since 2004, Dr. Janet Lockhart-Jones has served as president and chief learning leader of Project Partners Consulting Incorporated, a talent management, consulting, and leadership development firm. Janet serves clients across the globe with design, development, and implementation of leadership. Please help me welcome Janet Lockhart-Jones. Screen to be seen, Janet Lockhart-Jones.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that introduction. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone, depending on your time zone. As was stated, my name is Dr. Janet Lockhart-Jones, and I want to talk to you today about a subject that's very, very important to me for many reasons. So the title of my subject today is Screen to be Seen. So I have an opening question for you. Are you a cancer survivor, or do you know of someone who has cancer, did have cancer, or perhaps even died of cancer? If you do, just raise your hand so I can get a sense of how many of you are out there. All right, thank you so much for that. If you have never had cancer before in your life, here's a reflection question for you. How would you feel receiving a cancer diagnosis? Now, I want you to just reflect on that. It's rhetorical. Just think about that. When you walk into your doctor's office after you get a test and the doctor says you have cancer. I know how I felt back in 2004 when I was given that diagnosis. I was scared, I was angry, I was afraid. I was wondering even if I was going to live long enough to see my daughter grow up. So we all go through, those who get such a diagnosis go through a myriad of range of emotions. But here's an even bigger question. Would you do everything you could do to prevent getting a cancer that is deadly, gravely deadly, but at the same time, 100% preventable? So I want you to ponder that question for a moment. Let me start with talking about my cancer reality. In 2004, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. I beat it, praise God. In 2007, my sister passed away from colon cancer, unnecessarily, I should say, and you'll find out why very shortly. In 2017, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, lived to the wonderful age of 94, did not die from cancer, but she also had colon cancer earlier in her life. So hopefully, just from this reality, you can see why the subject of colon cancer is very important to me. And I hope it becomes important to all of you. So let's get at it. What is colon cancer? Facts, screening options, and your call to action. So this is our roadmap for the next 4.5 minutes. Let me start off with a basic definition of colon cancer. Colon cancer, also known as colorectal cancer, or CRC for short, is a cancer that starts in the colon, i.e. your large intestine, or the rectum. Now, let's look at some facts. Did you know that in the United States, colon cancer is the third leading cause of cancer-related deaths in men and in women, and the second most common cause of cancer deaths when men and women are combined? And this year alone, according to the American Cancer Society, is expected to cause about 52,980 deaths. Now, the American Cancer Society estimates that for the number of colorectal cancers in the United States, for 2021, this year, we will see about 104,000 new cases of colon cancer and 45,000 cases of rectal cancer. So the question is, though, are you doing what you need to do to keep from being part of that population? Now, a little bit of good news. There's been a downward trend in colon cancer incidence over the past several decades, but a steady increase of 2% every year from 2012 to 2016 in people younger than 50, and a 1% increase from people ages 50 to 64. Because historically, colon cancer was looked upon as an old person's disease, but not anymore. And this year, the American Cancer Society has even lowered the recommended age for screening. These are some risk factors. I'm sure we're all familiar with a lot of these. The older we get, the higher the risk. African Americans, family history, inflammatory intestinal conditions, inherited syndromes, family history, and so on and so forth. Now, the good news, more good news about colon cancer is that it develops slowly over a period of 10 to 15 years, meaning that if you're doing what you need, screening to be seen, it is preventable. Notice I said preventable because it begins as a small growth called a polyp, and finding and removing polyps can prevent colon cancer in totality. So going back to my earlier question, would you do everything you need to do to keep from getting a deadly cancer that is 100% preventable? Unfortunately, 1/3 of the targeted population who should get screened do not. There are many screening options. You see these on the screen. I won't go into any of these in detail. I will be providing you with a handout that I'll post in the chat. But these are a range of screening options that are originated from either going through the mouth or going through the other way. You get the drift. I don't think I need to be any more descriptive than that. So screen to be seen. Why do I say that? Well, because if you're not getting screened, you're risking your life and potentially will see an early death, which means no one will see you any longer because you're not here. Now, this first bullet, hugely important. The American Cancer Society's newest guidelines, updated as of May 26, lowered the age from 50 to 45 to be screened for colon cancer. This group benefits the most, but almost 1/3 never gets screened. Older adults, they have to make sure that they're capable and could withstand the screening, so they need to have that conversation with their clinician. Don't risk death from something that is 100% preventable. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Janet. Timer, will you give us a minute of silence for the evaluator to write down his notes? I think she said 1 minute.
1 minute.
Great. Our second speaker, Linda Patton, will be evaluated by Tracy Stewart. Tracy, will you let us know what project that Linda's working on? Timing, etc.
Yes. As stated, our next speaker, she's a very accomplished woman. She's in Motivational Strategies Pathway Level 3, and she will be delivering a 5 to 7 minute speech on understanding emotional intelligence. Back to you, Master Toastmaster.
Thank you. Linda is founder of Dare to Lead with Linda, international speaker and best-selling author of the book, No One Stood Up When I Entered the Room, One Woman's Journey from Command to True Leadership. She is radio show host on Voice America. She is a leadership expert, mentor, and trainer, a gifted communicator, regularly featured live and online on business panels, interviewed as leadership expert, and is a popular speaker and seminar leader on topics related to business and leadership in her 16-week program, Awaken the Leader. She holds an MBA in leadership, a bachelor's in nursing, a certificate in meeting management, various leadership positions in professional associations, major organizations, and in the military as a U.S. Army major. Please help me welcome Linda Patton, The Power of Emotional Intelligence. The Power of Emotional Intelligence, Linda Patton.
Thank you, Jay, so very, very much. I really appreciate that. And welcome to you all, no matter what time zone you're sitting in. May be having a fantastic day, and hopefully this will be a part of it. Leadership. I say this so often. It's probably one of the most maligned words in the English language. And yet we don't want to step into it. And when we do, we don't know what to do with it. And what does emotional intelligence have to do with this? Well, Daniel Goleman wrote the book, the groundbreaking book that defined what it meant to be smart and why emotional intelligence matters more than IQ. So your intelligence is important, but how you deal with your emotions is even more important. So what does emotional intelligence give us? It gives us wonderful aspects of leadership like teamwork, open communications, cooperation, collaboration, compassion, the ability to listen. Kimmy was such a great lead-in to this presentation. She talked about so many of the things that are important about emotional intelligence, and open communications is one of them. Listening, speaking one's mind, and the rudiments of even social intelligence. So all of those things are what emotional intelligence gives us. I took a whole year working on emotional intelligence, and the title of it was Know Thyself. That's the key around emotional intelligence, is knowing who you are. What are your emotional triggers? What are the things that work for you, don't work for you? How do you fall into the traps that make emotional intelligence difficult? So let's look at leadership and the history of leadership. It began with command. It began with telling people what to do. If you go back into the medieval days, the kings, the princes, the dukes, the duchesses were all telling you what to do. Nobody cared what your emotion was. Didn't care whether you wanted to cooperate or not. You just did it, or you lost your head, or you lost something else. But command, there was no emotion. No emotion. And I like to say that even in the 70s and 80s, when I was in the military, that there was no emotion in that person's army. It was all about telling people what to do, telling them how to do it, and command. It was just that simple. I told you in an earlier speech that one of the things that really caught my heart, but it all came from my head, was being a parade field adjutant. I had to tell people the order of the march. And I had to be heard across a field of 2,400 women. And they all had to move at once. It's really emotional when people do that. And yet there's really no room for emotion in command. In the long run, though, command leads to decreased productivity, increased missed deadlines, intimidated workers, and arrogant bosses, because they know they're at the top of the food chain and you have to do what I say, or it's the highway for you. There is fear in that, with no empathy and no compassion, which leads to conflict with organizational goals, especially if your organization works for the benefit of others. How can you run it without emotional intelligence? How can you run it with command? Yet command is important. It's the masculine side. You can't get rid of it. You need it because it brings the organization, the structure, and the strategy to leadership. It comes from here. In the 1980s, command was reworked, primarily due to globalization and technology. Jungle fighters, no pun intended, we were just coming out of Vietnam, and moving to virtuosos in interpersonal skills. We discovered that stress makes people stupid. They become more influential, as John Maxwell says, and they attuned to their feelings, but they can be too heart-based. Teams run amok. I personally wanted to throw in the towel and get out of leadership. Now I've created the perfect alignment between command and influence to be able to use that emotional intelligence in such a way that it supports the organizational goals, the relationships among the people, and all of that. Some of the skill that you want to have is keeping disagreements from escalating, moving with the flow, and the art of persuasion to a common goal. Lead with influence, compassion, collaboration, cooperation, and such. The feminine side. It works with the heart. So you have the head, which gives you the organization structure and strategy, and the heart gives you the compassion, the communication, the collaboration, and all of that. Interesting fact, Mars and Venus right now are in conjunction in Venus, which is perfect for confluential leadership. And just one last thought, when giving evaluations, use emotional intelligence. Be specific, illustrate key areas that need change, as well as key areas that require praise. Offer a solution, be present, and be sensitive. Remember, as Buddha says, yesterday is gone, tomorrow is yet to come. We only have today. Sit in your emotional intelligence and be with yourself and your people. Master Toastmaster.
Thank you, Linda. Timer, will you give us a minute on the clock for the evaluator to write down some evaluation notes?
That's a minute.
Thank you, Timer. And now we move into the tabletop portion of the meeting where we get to practice impromptu speaking. One of my most favorite and challenging, and what I benefit from the most in Toastmasters, I think, table topics. Leading us in table topics is going to be Emmanuel Ujulami. Emmanuel, please take it away. Tell us all about table topics.
Hi, Jay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to one of the most interesting segments of the Toastmasters meeting, and that is the table topics session. As you might have heard, the table topics session is where we get to hone our gift of impromptu speaking, which means that in 1 to 2 minutes, whether you're a guest or a speaker, you're given the opportunity to speak on a topic of your choice, off the cuff, on your feet. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are waiting for that opportunity to pitch your idea to that investor or to convince somebody to marry you, this is the time we learn that skill. Well, today we are talking about gender communications. So all our questions are centered around gender communications. We're going to start with a member. Can I have a volunteer in the house who is going to volunteer for the table topics? Oh, okay. I can see Diana. Okay. Yeah. But Diana, you're a guest, so I need a member of the club to start with.
And Deanna can put her table topic in the chat. She can write it in the chat for us, okay? Deanna,
Okay.
please. When you give her a question, she can write it in the chat. So give it to her ahead of time. She has time to write it.
Okay, so can we have a member to start? Are we shy?
Why don't you give Deanna the question? She's been a member many times and she's a Toastmaster. So
Okay.
in another club. So why don't you give
Okay.
her question so she can start writing it and then ask the other question.
Okay, I'll take Diana second, but I'd like to start with, I thought I saw Kathleen. Oh, Kimi. Okay, Kimi. Okay, let me start with Kimi. Okay, so we have something called Magic Spinner. So invariably, it's gonna spin your question for you.
Oh,
so let's go. Let's go.
Wow.
that's snazzy.
Okay. Thank you. Women are more likely than men to disclose information about intimate personal concerns. Women are more likely than men to disclose information about intimate personal concerns. 1 to 2 minutes, Kimi?
Okay. Thank you, Table Topics Master Emmanuel. Yes, this is true. Women have this sense of to know me is to love me. And we're also externally motivated. So we want other people's feedback on what we should do. Not only that, as I was talking about earlier, we'll give you lots and lots of details. The masculine energy naturally conceals things. Think of the warrior going off to war. He wouldn't want you to know where his family was. He wouldn't want you to know the plan for the attack. He wouldn't want you to know what tools he had. So there's a natural tendency to conceal. So this creates a rift. If a man and woman are out on a date, she tells him everything about herself, and he thinks you tell everybody that. In my husband's first marriage, his wife told everybody everything about their personal details. It was one of the reasons they divorced, because he didn't feel like he could keep the family safe because she was revealing everything. In my own relationship with him, I have what we call my committee, who I'm allowed to say anything to, but he trusts them to have his back also. But it's a deal we've made. And he knows that I talk to my clients about my personal stuff because I use that as examples. But I have to honor his need to conceal, and he has to honor my need to reveal. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for that amazing speech on the topic. Thank you, Kimi. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. That perspective was different and fresh. Quickly, we move on to the second speaker. who happens to be Diana. Diana, are you ready?
So Deanna needs to respond in chat. She's not vocal. So,
Okay, so I'll take Deborah then. Deborah, then I can take Diana
no,
last.
let's do Deanna. You don't skip over her because of her different inabilities. But
Okay, no problem.
Please do the spinning and select the topic and then allow her a chance to share it in the chat.
Okay then. So here we go. Diana, this is for you.
Woohoo!
Okay, Diana, in 1 to 2 minutes, can you tell us what you think about this? Men are more likely to interrupt women than to interrupt other men. Men are more likely to interrupt women than to interrupt other men.
Okay, and put your response in the chat, please, Deanna. And we'll read yours out after we have our next contestant.
Okay, so I can take the next person.
Yes.
Are you asking for volunteers, Emmanuel?
Yes, I have Deborah, and I can take you,
Oh,
Kate,
okay, good,
as the last
good, good.
person. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Deborah, are we ready? You're muted.
Yes, yes, I am.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's go. This is for you, Deborah. Can you share your thoughts on this? Okay. During conversations, women spend more time looking at their partner than men do. During conversations, women spend more time looking at their partner than men do. 1 to 2 minutes, kindly share your thoughts.
During conversations, women spend more time looking at men than their partner than men do. I would agree on that. I feel it's during conversations, if the men are focused on the conversation because they are single focused, then they will be looking at you. But if it depends on the time period that you're having a conversation with a man, because if he's available for conversation, I feel then he will look you in the eye. But if he's busy doing something else, I've learned that it's best to set a time period where you can talk, because obviously the listening capability is not there if they're busy doing something else. I have 4 boys and a husband, so I've spent a lot of time working to hone in my skill of conversation with men. And I've learned that, again, they are to the point, like Kimmy said, but they're also, sometimes have a problem with maybe intimacy, because having a conversation and looking someone in the eye creates an intimate connection with each other. So I do agree with that. And I think it's, and also sometimes they'll be looking at their cell phone and while they're having a conversation with you. I found that happening too. So it is important to make sure that if you're having a conversation with a man, that they have the time and you're in a space where it's just you two. And then I think that they will look you in the eye. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for Deborah for that amazing perspective. All right. Okay, so I got a response from Deanna. She says, the women don't like to mail. Okay, can somebody help me out?
So it looks
Cynthia?
like she's saying the women don't like to make out to the candlelight and romance. I'm not quite
Okay.
sure.
Background and
Okay,
sound.
fine.
I felt
Thank you.
so they
Thank
have
you,
a
Deanna,
different,
for that.
and they have a different
Okay, go ahead.
view. I think she's saying that they have a different view of what they enjoy. Like a male wants to make out on the date, and a woman wants the dinner, a candlelight dinner with romance and background sounds. And it feels like it could be in conflict or upset between their choices.
Oh, okay. A round of applause for Deanna. Thank you for that amazing perspective. Woo, well done. Okay, so we go for the last person today, and that is Kate. Okay, Kate, are we ready?
Oh, me?
You mean Kathleen?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes,
Yes,
yes. I'd be happy to. We
Oh,
have
okay.
until 12:27.
This will be the last
Okay, so
one.
let's take one more.
No, this will be
Let's
the
take
last
one
one.
more.
This is the number 4. This will be
Okay.
last. Thank you.
All right then. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so let's spin. We had this before, but I want you to take it again. Or should we spin again?
Let's just do this one. I'm happy to answer this one. And
Okay.
in my own experience and from many published studies, it is very much the case. And there are lots of humorous results from studies showing pictures of men talking down over the smaller woman and the dominator culture, assuming that the less, what would you call it, less strong member of the exchange isn't worth listening to. And what a wonderful session we are having, where we are opening up the discussion and opening up our eyes from different cultures around the globe, even different cultures, different genders, and just looking at what makes communication. And bottom line to me, it is respect and listening.
Yes.
And I guess that that's enough for my Table Topics contribution. Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you, Emmanuel, and all of you for this wonderful, interesting, juicy conversation we're having all meeting.
Thank you. A round of applause for our Vice President, Kathleen. Woo.
And that was
Thank you.
a fun spinner. That's amazing. I've never seen that before, Emmanuel. Woohoo!
I'm going to end with this quote by a lady called Kemi, and it's in the chat box. She says, arguments are inevitable. Arguments and disagreements are inevitable in a relationship. Communication breakdown happens. The real test of a real relationship is based on love, comes from the lines, when the lines of communication get crossed. With this, I hand over control back to the Toastmaster. Thank you for making this session amazing.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Stop interrupting. And I want to second the spinning wheel. I think that was a lot of fun, especially when it had sound. We heard the sound the last time, but the other times we didn't hear it. Yay. Well, that's it. We've reached the end of the speaking portion of our meeting, but there's more. The evaluation section of the meeting, which is going to be led by our general evaluator, Victor Jenkins. Victor, please take it away.
Okay, I've unmuted myself and welcome to the evaluative phase of the meeting. There's a couple things going to happen. I'm going to introduce the evaluators to you. I'm going to have a couple of reports near the end of my talk, and then I'm going to actually evaluate the meeting and give my take on some of the things that have occurred. But evaluations, like every other part of Toastmasters, are speeches, and they're subject to timing constraints. Because without the timing constraints, as we all know, some people will go on and on and on because they like talking. Why don't we take a moment or so and have the timer give us the timing constraints for evaluations? Timer, will you do that for us, please?
Of
Unmute
course,
yourself.
it would be my pleasure. For the evaluations, the evaluators have 3 minutes maximum to evaluate our speakers, and they must present a minimum of 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, 2.5, 3. Thank you.
And thank you ever so much. Evaluators, I want to remind you to pin the timer to your screen so that you'll see those colors when they show up. And evaluating our first speaker is Mr. Tala bin Hamid. Let's welcome Tala bin Hamid to do evaluation number 1.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator. I hope I am audible. Okay. Screen to be seen. To be honest, Toastmaster Janet, the message that you gave, the way you made us all sit up and take notice, and the degree to which you were persuasive today renders any suggestions on your delivery or style quite superfluous. So congratulations on being so persuasive and thus completing the project so successfully. You started very effectively by instantly pushing the audience off at the deep end in a very uncomfortable position. Myself included, I am surrounded by cancer in my family.
Oh my
So
God.
many relatives, not immediate family, but cousins, uncles, goes a long way. And there have been fatalities as well. So when you said the words preventable cancer, to be very honest, I was shocked in a pleasant way, because I never could have realized that there can be such a thing as preventable cancer. You again asked the audience 2 or 3 questions, and you made us think all the while. I really love the way you allowed some time to reflect when you asked us the second question. Your voice was very assertive, authoritative throughout. We could not miss a single word that you spoke, even if we tried. So congratulations on that. You had a message of hope and rather a stern call to action for everyone to be screened. And this is something we all need. Perhaps not necessarily in the context of cancer only, but as part of our general health and well-being. And perhaps this is more of a call to action for the third world, like my country, where we simply don't have a culture of getting ourselves routinely checked. So thank you for that wake-up call. And anything that I say in terms of suggestions for improvement, as I mentioned earlier, are truly, truly superfluous considering the message you gave. You had superb eye contact throughout your speech, and you could have, in terms of improvement areas, first of all, you could have started directly with the question. No need to tell us that this is going to be a persuasive project detailing what you're going to talk about, because I felt that was not really needed. You could have just started with the question straight away, and that would have made the impact even more. You delivered while sitting, so there could have been no movement, but again, your gestures more than made up for it. But at times I felt that there was a lack of emotional punch in some portions of your speech. When you were mentioning your family, yes, I get that you were trying to be matter of fact, but you could have delivered it with a little more emotional punch. So just a little bit of monotony is the one improvement area. Otherwise, you had a superb, successful call to action and a persuasive speech. Congratulations, and thank you for waking us all up. And yes, I see the skull. Message well and truly taken. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much. And now evaluator number 2, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the virtual lectern, Tracy Stewart. Come on, Tracy, let's unmute yourself and hear your evaluation, please.
Good day, my fellow Toastmasters. I have the privilege of evaluating Toastmaster Linda today, and I have to say it was a totally enjoyable presentation that you made. Your speech, it had me intrigued from beginning to end. It was very, very relatable. I could think of, I'm sure we can all think of instances where we have had leaders who've led by the iron fist, or ones that have been very thoughtful and considerate, and the comparison of the both, that you would prefer to work with someone who is compassionate, emotional, and look forward to each morning or day when you would have to go to work with someone like that, versus someone who has the off with your head method. Off of your head just was so visual for me, because, and it just stood out to me. Yes, that is exactly how it can seem when someone just is so commanding and no emotion, no compassion. And there's a dread to work with that type of personality, and the productivity is little or none. So I commend you, Linda, on your speech today. It was intriguing from beginning to end. Your opening was very capturing. This story was well developed, and I like how you went from the history of leadership to the way that it is now, and how that type of leadership would not be productive or helpful in today's world. I feel that, like I said, it was very, very relatable. You were very poised throughout, very comfortable. You were clear to understand. Your physical gestures were effective, and you engaged me. You engaged us, and there was just so much to get from the entirety of your speech. So thank you again, and I enjoyed it so much. I don't think there was much that I could find with your presentation. If I did have to think of something, it would probably be a personal story that would connect us a little more in there. Maybe a comparison of perhaps of someone who has been off with your head type of leader versus someone who's not. Otherwise, I think it was great, and I appreciate your recommendations that you gave on how to lead with intelligence. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing more of your speeches to come. Back to you.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you very much. And according to the agenda, the next item we're going to have is the timer. And I believe the timer is going to give us the report not only for the evaluators, but how everyone else did time-wise. Is that right, Madame Timer?
Yes, sir. It would be my pleasure to say that we were quite verbose during this meeting. However, there was so much wonderful information to share, so I cannot fault anyone. Kimmy's presentation ran a little bit over, 15 minutes, 50 seconds, and the Q&A, because we had extra time, ran a little over 9 minutes. Janet Lockhart-Jones, Dr. Jones, presentation ran 6 minutes, 32 seconds. Linda Patton's presentation went 7 minutes, 15 seconds, just under the wire. As far as table topics goes, I will give Deanna kind of a pass and say, of course, she was right on time. Kimmy's response was 2 minutes, 6 seconds. Deborah's was 2 minutes, 8 seconds. And with apologies to Kathleen, I fell off the fell off the call for a couple of minutes. So I am sure, because she's such a pro, she was right on time with 2 minutes. Our evaluators, yes. Taha Ben Hamid did go over, and he recognized it too. So thank you for your recognition. 3 minutes, 47 seconds, just a shade over. Tracy was just perfect. 3 minutes on the button. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to serve as your timer. And back to you.
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful presentation you just gave us, and in keeping with the agenda. And you know, I allude to the agenda a lot because that's really what we're supposed to be doing. And it looks like we're actually right on time. So, well, maybe we're a little bit ahead of time. All that means is that I can run my mouth some more. So let's talk about our meeting. The meeting today was exceptional. This meeting is the best meeting that I have attended since I've been a member of the club. When I say it's the best meeting, I mean all the speakers were representative of Toastmasters. They all sounded and performed like they were really Toastmasters. The way they performed and the way they spoke made people who are not Toastmasters want to be Toastmasters, and that is the way I like it. As the meeting went forward, our Toastmaster of the day did an exceptional job of staying on time. He was very professional. He didn't go on any rabbit trails like some of us like to do. He really stayed on point, and he was very professional as he introduced the members of the Toastmaster team for today. The table topics was exceptional. The table topics had a nice little spinning wheel, and I enjoyed that part of table topics. If I were to make any suggestions, unlike some people, I don't believe in volunteering for table topics. When I'm the table topics master, if any of you are here, you're going to get surprised by who does the participation. Because in my Toastmasters world, if you raise your hand that you're ready, I want to talk to somebody who's not ready to see how imaginative they can be. The evaluators did wonderful jobs of giving instructions and also proved that they were listening to the speakers, because the details of their evaluation show that they were listening to the speakers. If I was going to make any changes in the evaluation, I would, at the beginning of my evaluation, say whether or not they met their objectives. Because in the beginning, we have the evaluators give the objectives, and as I said, part of the Toastmasters mission is to have personal confidence, self-confidence, and personal growth. The way that we know whether we are doing it properly is if the evaluator says, well, so-and-so gave a speech, and they met their objectives. That's my comments for the meeting. And finally, I just want to interject that sometimes some Toastmaster meetings I go to, they incorporate first place ribbons for the evaluator, first place ribbon for the speakers, and first place ribbons for the table topics participants. And that might add a little different flavor to the meeting, but since all Toastmasters love accolades and are addicted to the applause, I can see nothing wrong with maybe incorporating that into how our meeting goes. And finally, it's time for me to close my pie hole, so I'm going to look away from you and look at the agenda and see what's next. And according to that, it's the Vice President of Education. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a rip-roaring, rousing, leaders worldwide applause for the Vice President of Education as she comes forth, none other than my friend and yours, Mrs. Peel. Let's hear from Mrs. Peel.
Victor, did we not do anything with the grammarian?
I thought I did that. I didn't.
Sally report?
Sally, my apologies. Let's have the grammarian report from Sally Reyes.
Thank you very much. Woohoo! Okay, Victor, you used communication 3 times, Jay 5 times, Kimmy 1 communication, and a lovely evaluation of what communication consists of, and 1 we have Deborah, 3 Kathleen, 2 communications and 1 and Tracy an and. That's for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. I relinquish the virtual lectern.
My best
Mrs. Peel.
words that I picked were elusive, relational, confluence, and verbose.
And as the VPE, the outgoing VPE, mwah, mwah, I'm blowing kisses goodbye as the VPE, but I'll be here enjoying these wonderful, beautiful meetings. This meeting was so fun. It was juicy, spicy, rolling off the tongue. Jay, your sense of humor just kept it all bubbling. And I just want to let you know that we have a new Vice President Education and his co-pilot. So Victor Jenkins will be co-piloting Mohammed Vikaruddin. And they are a couple of kids in that candy shop. They got big plans for us. So welcome them in this coming 6 months. No, it's a coming year.
Yeah.
And I just want to say again and again and again, when you receive in your inbox a message from Easy Speak, that's for you to open. Open that thing and follow through with it. It's going to take you to some very simple steps. If you have any trouble, let Victor know. He loves to help. If you want to ask me, I'll be happy to help too. And with that, come on in. The water is fine.
Let's give a big round of applause for Kathleen Hill, our outgoing VPE. Woo! Okay, and for Mohammed Vikaruddin, our incoming VPE, are you able to come on camera or open your mic?
Yes, Madam President, I am
So excited.
listening. I am so excited. Thank you, Madam Kathleen, about wonderful message to our members to answer or check your email whenever is coming from Easy Speak. You answer yes or no. We need you and we need to communicate with you. We want to listen from you So be connected with us. Thank
Yes.
you, Madam President.
And Mohammed, do we have role players for our next afternoon session, which is the 12th?
Yes, Madam President, up to 5th July, we do have. And,
And July 12th
once
is our next afternoon one. So do we have any,
Yes.
do we need roles filled? Like Toastmaster? Do we have a Toastmaster?
Yes, Madam President, I got a Excel sheet from Madam Kathleen. So in that one, some pre-confirmation from all our members. So I'm going to be assigned based on their attendance.
Okay, great. So watch for those emails coming unless anybody wants to volunteer to be Toastmaster for July 12th, which is an afternoon session, or General Evaluator, or Table Topics Master. Do we have anyone that wants to volunteer? Okay, Deanna's going to help out with accounting.
Wow, great.
Okay, and anyone else that wants to be a Toastmaster or a General Evaluator or Table Topics? We want to get our roles filled.
I could be the Journal Evaluator.
General Evaluator, Talib and Lahman.
Yeah.
Great. We'll note
I
that.
can be the Toastmaster.
Who's this?
This is
Emmanuel?
Manuel.
Oh, okay, because I couldn't see who was talking. I'm on the phone, so I don't see. Emmanuel will be our Toastmaster. All right. Okay, and anyone for Table Topics? Master? And Deanna will be our counter. Okay, I think that's enough. So you have that, Mohammed, then? Let's give a, ooh.
Yes, I noted down.
Muhammad, I just took care of it on the agenda. I already handled it.
Oh.
Cynthia had her tea heating and then forgot about the meeting was so fun.
Sounded like a smoke detector.
Yeah.
You're right. It was. I had something that was brewing on the stove and I forgot about it. Oh, it's all under control. I've got my window open. Okay. Well, thank you, Mohammed. We're looking forward to you being our VPE and working with Victor and back up with Kathleen. We're so excited about the year to come with Easy Speak. Awesome. So do we have any guests who want to say how they, if they enjoyed the meeting, what their experience was? Eileen? Oops. Oh. It's telling me.
So Deanna, do you want to put your response in the chat?
Yeah,
Deanna, put your response in the chat.
Okay, and Eileen, do you want to give a rendition of what you had?
Yes, I was
Great.
able to listen and get as much as I could, but in between I would have to dash out. So I enjoyed what I saw and heard, and keep up the great work, you guys.
Great, thank you so much. And this is a place where we give you chocolates. If you virtual chocolates, would you like a virtual chocolate? There's no calories and no sugar.
Sure, I love chocolate.
Here you go. Woo! Great. And anyone else want to share their experience? Any of our members? Kimmy, how was it being our guest, our keynote speaker? It's not a guest speaker.
It was fun, and I had pinned Teresa, and then I lost her. So I lost my time, and I enjoyed getting to share some of the stuff that I work on every single day with my clients. and supporting them and having great relationships. And I can guarantee I wouldn't be married if I didn't know this stuff. So it was really fun to be able to share that with you all. And thank you for inviting me, Cynthia.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We really enjoyed it, and I think we needed it. You know, we're a very diverse group of men and women and all cultures and races. And we need to learn to communicate with each other. Would you like a virtual chocolate?
Sure, I would be happy to.
Here you go.
Thank
All
you.
right. And Tracy, how was your experience as an evaluator here at Leaders Worldwide? You're a guest today, but we're going to finalize your membership on July 1st, and you're going to be our newest member. Woohoo!
My hands are still sweating. Really, it was a great experience, and I look forward to more of them. I think I'm in the company of such great people, and I can learn from everyone. So such amazing people to listen to and to evaluate. So thank you for welcoming me to your community, your tribe, and until next time, I'm excited.
I'm so excited too. Wonderful, wonderful member you're going to be. Would you like a chocolate?
I'll take one.
Okay.
And Cynthia, Deanna wrote in the chat, I've enjoyed the awesome meeting.
Aw, we enjoyed having you too, Deanna. Would you like a chocolate?
I think the answer is yes.
Ching! There's your chocolate. You get 2 for table topics also. Great. Does anyone else have a share? Takeaway from today, what you learned, what you experienced?
And I think other than Eileen, all of our guests are gone.
Okay. And how about Debbie? Do you have a response?
She's gone.
Recently, oh, she's gone. Oh, that's right. She said she had to go. And anyone else? Okay. Well, the only announcement we have to make again is that we're going to be honored with Pat Johnson, who was Toastmasters International President, and she will be here on July 19th. It's an evening session from 5:45 to 8 p.m. Pacific. I hope you can make it. I know it's the middle of the night for some of you, but she will be installing our officers and inducting our new members. Okay, and Deanna, do you want to know the date? It's July 19 at 5:45 p.m. Pacific. Okay.
Cynthia, I don't know whether you want to announce the fact that TLI is on July 17th.
Yes, TLI, which is Toastmasters Leaders. Thank you, Linda. Which is Toastmasters Leadership Institute, was where we train our officers and also have other training. It's open to anyone in our district. So if you are in another district, it might not be the right timing. It's going to be 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. I believe, Pacific time.
Yeah.
So that would probably work for our Europe and Africa team and Bahrain, but maybe be a little hard for people in Asia. So we can.
One more thing, we have the district installation and celebration on the 23rd in the evening, starting at 7
to 9 p.m. I think.
Yes, I think that's
Pacific time.
Yeah,
Okay.
and our own Carolyn Douglas will be installed as the program quality director. We're so excited. And also there'll be some more DTMs, including Linda Patton's DTM, and as well as OATM, Outstanding Achievement Toastmaster Awards, and Triple Crowns that will be awarded. I'll be getting those. And also Debbie Weiner, she already got her Triple Crown. She had like 8 levels that she did this year, and she'll be getting an Outstanding Achievement Toastmaster Award. And I want to say she needed about, I think you need about 2,500, 3,000 something, 3,000 points, but she actually had like 12,000 points. She did so much this year. It's really exciting to have her as our VP of membership and looking forward to her serving in that role this year. Okay, are there any other announcements? Oh, we've switched to Zoom, our Zoom account to Leaders Worldwide Zoom account. Before we were using Linda Patton's personal account. And thank you so much, Linda, for that. And we're looking forward to Linda training us so that we can make sure we're using it to optimize using it because we want to be able to combine one registration link that has the afternoon session and the evening session. So we'll be figuring out that this week and we'll be sending you probably a different Zoom link for next week's meeting. We did pretty well today. I think everybody got on relatively easy and on time. And I just want to thank all of the role players, the Zoom hosts, Sheena and Isaac and Linda do such a great job. We can't do anything without our Zoom hosts and our greeters. Kimmy and Cassandra were our greeters today to help us welcome our guests. Well, that's it for now. Thank you so much for being here. What a great meeting. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye, everybody. Have a beautiful day, night, sweet dreams.
Bye.
Live
Bye,
fully.
everyone.
Enjoy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.